Okay, these are the new 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pros from Apple with their new chips inside them. Now, these are the products where Apple gets serious with the professionals, where they give pros the gear that they need to do what they do, right? And you can tell right from the unboxing experience that these are gonna be professional devices, because in addition to the laptop, you also get the new power brick and the new braided MagSafe cable, but you also get the ultimate token of professional Apple gear, the black Apple sticker. Because if you know your Apple stickers, this only comes with like their real pro gear. iPhone Pro, you don't get it. AirPods Pro, you don't get it. Even the old MacBook Pros, you don't get this. This time, because this is for pros, you get the good. So you're off to a good start. Black Apple sticker, you know they mean business. Now, if you look at the design of this product, this is function over form, which is unlike Apple, right? Normally they go for that svelte, like super sleek, elegant look. This time, they've put that stuff aside and they focused on what would make a functional and ideal product for people that need this tool to do their job. Because it's thick, and I love the thickness, because thickness gives you ports, gives you bigger batteries, gives you better thermal systems in there. Everything's good when you go thick. Okay, let's start with the displays here. So this is a notched display. And having used this for a little bit, I feel like the notch is completely fine. It's not an issue. Like if you have an app that's full screen, the notch disappears. If you have a black background, it disappears. If you even have a black strip at the top of your wallpaper, it disappears. And if you're moving your mouse cursor, it just goes right through it, in case you were wondering. Does it have to go around it? Like, is it hard surface? No, it just goes right through it. People in my last video about this, they commented like, why did they have the notch? If you look at the Dell XPS products, they're able to fit a camera without this notch. Like, look, this is an XPS 13. I'm familiar with the XPS devices. This is how Dell does it, right? They have a very small camera in the thin bezel at the top of the screen, but have you seen the quality of this webcam? It's awful. Like, there's no way that Apple in 2021 would put a webcam of that kind of resolution into their Pro device. Like, there's absolutely no way. So for them to, like, this is just what they have to do. It sucks that it doesn't have Face ID. I don't know why. Maybe it's like a security thing. Maybe it's a thickness of device thing. But if this has Face ID, it'd be so much better. But maybe in the future. The image quality of this webcam is actually quite good. Now, the panel uses the Retina XDR technology. So it's lit by mini LEDs, and it's a ProMotion panel. So it can adaptively adjust the frame rate up to 120 frames per second. So a couple things here. It's a nice looking screen, right? It's bright, it's color accurate, it's fantastic. But the adaptive ProMotion tech is the first time I've seen it on a laptop ever. Like, normally when I do battery tests on any of the devices I do, like any laptop review, I'll manually adjust the refresh rate, or like the hertz on the screen, to 60, even if it's a gaming panel. I'll drop it to 60 just so the battery test is fair and accurate. This does it automatically. And when it comes to battery life or extending the battery capabilities of a device, doing that automatically is amazing. And I think that's one of the reasons why it has the battery life that it does. We'll get into that in a second. But this display, super fast. And just to test it out, I just wanted to see, right? I threw Parallels on here, put Overwatch on here, and it is so weird to see Overwatch running at like 120 frames per second on a MacBook and seeing the frame rate on the screen. Now, the Windows drivers were janky, so the performance isn't optimized, but to be able to see a 120 hertz display playing a game on a MacBook, it was something else. I want to talk about bloom real quickly. So the iPad Pro from a few months ago, or like half a year ago, had bloom issues. Now, I looked for it. So both the 16-inch and the 14-inch, I was cognizant of the potential problem and actively looking for it, but it's really faint. Like, it's there, but it seems very mild in comparison to what we saw on the iPad Pros previously. Now, I have a few guesses, like maybe they're using a different kind of optical film behind the panel, so it's like helping to diffuse that light a little bit. I'm not sure. Or I could just gotten lucky with these panels. I think neither of them really had it. There's also the very real possibility that I'm old and my eyes aren't sensitive. Like, I'm 40, right? Maybe I'm looking at these things, I'm like, bloom? What bloom? I don't see anything. Like, it's possible. But I think based on what I've seen here and what I saw on the iPad previously, it's not an issue this time around. The keyboard, so this has a very similar feel to the previous generation of MacBook keyboards. I like them, and the layout is really good, and the removal of that touch bar is like, it's the best thing. I never liked that touch bar. Hardware function keys are the best. The trackpad's nice and big, but it's the same size and feel as the previous generation, so it'd be as you'd expect. The speakers have also been upgraded this year. They sound better, but they don't, like, it's not much better to me, at least not to my ears. But the thing is, MacBook's speakers are so far ahead of everybody else, it's like, I don't even know why they even bothered, right? They could have just reserved this for the future when other people caught up, but they're a little better this year. Now, in terms of ports, you get 3 USB-Cs and an HDMI. You also get your SD card slot. I love that HDMI. I literally used it this morning. So I was watching like a stream. My family was watching like the BTS concert, and we wanted to, it could only work on the Safari browser. So I had to pull up the MacBook, and they wanted to watch on the TV. AirPlay wasn't working. I'm like, you know what? This thing's got the port. And like, you know, before you'd have to get the dongle, people would be panicking, the world would be on fire, but now you're like, what's up? Port, you plug it up. I think people complain about the fact that it doesn't have 2.1. I don't think that's what it's for. It's not for like the best screens to be connected to it. It's to be used in a pinch, like if you're at work and you have a presentation, you want to connect it to the projector or whatever, it's there. I love it. And they also have your MagSafe connector. I tested the fast charge. It works as advertised. It fills up super quick. Now, let's talk about performance. So here are some benchmarks up front. The M1 Pro and M1 Max are a pretty nice upgrade from the regular M1 in the CPU front. And even when you're running CINEBENCH in a loop for 30 minutes, it's able to maintain the same score. It's very well cooled, but the bigger moves are in the graphics department. If you look at the GPUs in here, in terms of just raw performance, the M1 Max has the kick of about an RTX 3060, maybe a low wattage 3070, but certainly not a 3080. And I was hoping for that. That's kind of what they alluded to in their charts. But because it has unified memory and unified cache, it can absolutely keep up with a 3080 and maybe even excel in certain applications. So it really depends on what you're using it for. So here's some workflows that I tested. The performance gains are always gonna favor Apple's own applications, right? So stuff like Final Cut and Logic and even Xcode for people that are developers, you can do it really fast on this system. But for me, I don't use any of those things. I use Premiere, and I was hoping that this would be like a render machine. I thought it would just like crush them. It doesn't, which is kind of good because now I don't have to pay $5,000 for a new laptop. Thank God. And I would have been tempted to if this was faster than my Windows machine. But for the people who would benefit from this new hardware, you're in for a treat. Like if you use any of those Apple applications or something that can really benefit from M1 Pro or M1 Max, it's awesome. And the best part of it is not just the performance, it's the energy efficiency. It's crazy good. So I've never seen this before. I've never seen a device put out this kind of performance for this little energy consumption. And because it's so energy efficient, the thermal system is so quiet. You can barely hear them even when they're going full tilt. And also with that energy efficiency comes really long battery life. So they claim up to 21 hours on the 16-inch. I tested them. They're not as long lasting as I'd hoped, but they're still the longest lasting high performance laptops I've ever had in the studio, particularly the 16-inch. This one is quite impressive. So if battery life is important to you, I'd push you in this direction. Now I'm gonna close off this video with one last thought. It's in regards to a purchase decision. Because it's Apple and because it's like the new from Apple, I think people are gonna be tempted, right? You're like, I love that. Maybe I could use this. But truth is, these are not cheap. These are professional tools, they're expensive, and for most people that want this, but don't actually have like a clear and present need for it, you don't need it. These are just too expensive to pick up as like a fun purchase. They're really cool, but they're tools. That's all they are. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. I'll see you guys next time.